This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Brandon Andrus Green.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast Live. A lot of business owners spend years building a company. They don't always plan for what happens when they're no longer the person running it. And that can affect a lot more than just business. It can affect partners, employees, assets, and the family depending on it. Today, we're talking about how the legal plan for business connects with the personal plan behind it. My guest is Jamie Miller, owner of Jamie Miller, a J. Miller law firm. Jamie works with business owners and families on business law, succession planning, buying and selling companies, probate, and estate planning. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So how did you get started in this line of work in the first place?
Sure. So law actually isn't my first career. I spent 10 years working in education, regulatory compliance, basically for federal grants through a state department to school districts. And then when I was in my early 30s, I went back to law school. But this is something I've always wanted to do. My dad's an entrepreneur, has been a business owner for many years. I just have a heart for helping businesses specifically, and that's just how I wanted to run my business as well.
All right, so when you begin working with a business owner, what are some of those legal issues they often discover they should have addressed years earlier?
Sure. So a lot of it goes right back to formation. So it's fairly easy to form a business with the Secretary of State, but there's a lot of steps that get missed when people do it themselves, things they haven't thought about, particularly if you have any other business partners, whether it's someone you're related to or a friend. We really need to think down the road how that relationship may play out, including the end. What happens with someone if someone's incapacitated? What happens if someone passes away? What happens if somebody just wants out? You don't want to be in business probably with that person's spouse or family members. And the best time to plan for the end is when everyone is in their full health and getting along and can have those discussions rather than something's on fire.
Yeah, sometimes that's just not a fun conversation and we tend to kind of put those things off, huh?
Right. People often tell me, they will always get along. There will never be any problems. And, I hope that's true for them, but it's often not.
Yeah, I'm sure as an attorney, you see the often not cases more often than you'd like.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
So let's say if a business depends heavily on, let's say, one owner, what should be in place if that person suddenly dies, becomes disabled, or simply can no longer run the company?
Sure. So they need to have their the internal policies and procedures in place, and as well as, who's going to run payroll, who knows how to run payroll, who can contact the insurance agent, who has authority with the bank. So some of that is documents, the governing documents, your operating agreement, your bylaws, your financial powers of attorney that people like your bank needs to have before there's an emergency. And then there's the internal policies and procedures. More than one person needs to know how to do things in case that you can't. So it's about having the formal access and then also the practical day-to-day who can pick it up and run with it for 48 hours or 2 weeks or however long it is.
Well, where should a business owner's estate plan and the company's succession plan connect?
Sure. So if they're doing a trust, for example, then we need to address those business transfers and authority in the trust. We also need to address it in the governing documents. So their operating agreement or their bylaws. If they have business partners, their buy-sell agreement, does everything fit together? So if they have a business partner, is everyone on the same page about what happens and how that buyout or that transfer would work?
And so when there's multiple owners involved, we really should just be getting everything in writing before there's ever like a disagreement, illness, retirement, unexpected exit.
Absolutely. And there's also some people I would encourage people to look at things like key person insurance, life insurance that can fund buyouts and things like that.
And I noticed you also work with people buying and selling businesses.
I do, yes. It's also starting from scratch, but also buying an existing business or selling a business down the road as well. That's really important transaction that people tend to not give enough time to. Really important to do your due diligence when you're buying a business, and really important to understand the terms that are being negotiated for that purchase or that sale. The tax consequences as well.
I'm interested in knowing what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make before a deal is even finalized?
So unfortunately, a lot of people come to me kind of after they've already negotiated a deal, and then it's like, well, that's not going to work. That's really bad for you. And then there's missing terms in the deal. It's hard to go back after you think you've negotiated. It's hard to go back and be like, well, we need to change these terms because my lawyer said it's not going to work. Much easier on the front end to go through, okay, what do you want the end result to be? And I will help you make that happen in the best, most efficient way for you. And it's not about being adversarial with the other side. It's just making sure everyone understands what the terms are and what's going to work for everyone.
Yeah, just clearly explaining those needs.
Right. Absolutely.
And what can happen to an operating business when the owner dies and the ownership interest ends up going through probate?
Yeah, I've had several of those. Finished one not that long ago. So unfortunately, then the business temporarily can kind of stop because there's no one with authority, to run it. And that can be a problem with your employees. You got employees at loose ends, don't know, who's directing them, don't know who's, going to write them their check. It can be an issue with your vendors, with your customers. And probate takes time. So even getting that first probate hearing, you were probably 30 days out from filing typically. So it can be a real hardship, especially for a small business. And then you often have adult children who maybe don't even live in the state trying to step in and run something that they have really no idea what it's even about.
And what about growing businesses? At what point should a growing business stop treating an attorney as someone they call when there's a problem and start using that legal counsel more proactively?
Sure. It really, at any stage, I have long-term business relationship with clients from the time we've started their business or they purchased their business all the way through to their business succession or sale. There's really no size, but I will tell you, it is often less expensive to contact me earlier and grow with you and help you make those decisions along the way. Then also get to know that business as well, rather than jumping in after something's already happened.
Well, with all this being said, what's the one legal conversation every business owner should have before they actually need it?
What do you want to happen beyond you? What do you want to happen to your business? Is it something you want to sell to a third party? Do you have an employee who maybe is going to be able to take over? Do you have adult children who are interested in the business? Succession planning takes a lot longer than people think it does. And if you built a business, you've watched it grow and be successful, you want it to continue to be successful. And so you want whoever's going to take over after you to have the best chance of success. And so that transition process takes some time.
I feel like it's pretty common knowledge that we all know we need a good attorney, especially when we're going into business. But on the layman's side, that can sometimes feel overwhelming. I automatically assume it's going to cost an arm and a leg.
Sure.
And then I automatically assume it's going to be really hard to find the right attorney. And then there's trust issues involved. Can you give any advice to us laymen?
Sure. I think it's really important to get an attorney that regularly practices in that area. The law is too broad to be great at everything. So there are attorneys that are great at, family law or criminal law. That's probably not going to be your same great business attorney. So someone who's regularly an expert in that area would be what I would recommend, and that you feel comfortable having conversations with, because it's not my job to always tell the business owner they're right or yes. Sometimes it's my job to say, yes, we can do that, and here's how. Sometimes it's maybe, but here's the risk. And sometimes it's absolutely not, and here's why. So we have to have those uncomfortable conversations and trust each other.
And if someone wants to learn more about J. Miller Law Firm or reach you, where should they go?
On my website, I try to have a lot of resources on my website, jmillerlawfirmpllc.com. I have a lot of videos on there. I have blogs I try to write every month, and some frequently asked questions for my different practice areas.
Amazing. Jamie, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you and J. Miller Law Firm the best moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnptulsa.com. That's gnptulsa.com or call 918-301-6356.